Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. It is a real delight to be with you again. A special welcome if you're new and a special welcome if you're a returning listener. In this very short upload, I'm going to be responding to the questions posted under my previous upload in which I address the impact of certainty on the objective realization of our desires. Now, if you've not listened to that, then please feel free to do so, although it's not entirely necessary for you to listen to it in order to understand what I'm going to discuss here. But as I say, it just provides a bit more context, and it really helps if you are somebody who doesn't have that much experience or knowledge of the sorts of concepts that I talk about in my YouTube uploads. There really isn't very much that needs to be said about certainty, which is good. But I do want to point out what I believe to be important. And the important thing for me to know for all of us is that when we receive a desire from God, the desire comes to us as an emotion. And that's because everything in existence has an emotional correspondent, has an emotional form. And Nevill Goddard addresses this in his talks on the law of reversibility. And I'll put a link to a resource in the comment section below so that you can read a bit about this for yourself. So I'm going to use money as an example here because money is something that's universal. We all have need of it. We all make use of it and so on. So let's use money as an example here. When you become aware of money, at the point of awareness, the moment of awareness, money itself has no context. What we perceive in our feelings, in our consciousness, is the group of emotions that cumulatively constitute money when it's in its physical form. So what we're aware of is not currency, it's not gold or precious stones or whatever it is. It is a group of emotions that constitute together what we know to be money. What often happens is that at that time, we filter that awareness through our mood. So if you're feeling prosperous, you're going to express prosperity for reasons that I won't go into in this upload. And it's not really essential for you to know how that happens, but this is just this interplay of emotions. So if your mood is a prosperous one, when you become aware of money, that is going to be what you filter that awareness through. And so you're going to express the things that constitute or conform to prosperity. And similarly, if you're feeling financially dispossessed, you're going to express whatever it is that's necessary to confirm this. And this applies to absolutely everything, because I know that there are many people for whom money is no issue. So this applies to relationships or whatever it is that you're trying to do in your life, things to do with your own person. When you become aware of a desire, at that moment, it has no, let's say, human context. It's not what we recognize that thing to be in its physical form. What we are aware of are the constituent emotions. So I just want to make sure that we really are clear about this. Our desires have no context at the point of awareness. And it's the mood in which we acknowledge the desires that will determine what they then look like in their physical form. So the fact that we've been focusing on something specific for a specific purpose will make no difference beyond what our focus makes us feel or how our focus impacts our mood. And this particular concept falls under the auspices of the God is no respecter of persons edict. So when we become aware of a thing, whatever it is, we are aware of an emotion, those emotions emotional emotions rather, and those emotions interplay with our mood, which are themselves emotional in nature, and that interplay determines what our desires look like in their physical form. Now, certainty, which is a very specific thing, metaphysically speaking, it's the only emotional state under which the desires we receive will be physically realized as intended. Certainty is fostered and understood by us through the emotions of joy, love, courage, acceptance, and peace, because these emotions, just some of them, are based in non-judgment, or they are non-judgment in nature. So what we want in order to have our desires look the way that God intends them to look in their physical form is to make sure that the mood in which we receive them is one of certainty. So we need to be in one of those moods: joy, love, courage, acceptance, and peace, and so on, when we're thinking about or when we're experiencing our desire. Now, it's important that you don't get worried about any of this. It's not that, a bad mood is going to taint your desire. It does happen, but it's reversible. It's something that you can completely change. Remember, we have complete control over what happens as long as we are exercising or using our authority to control our moods. So if you are at all worried about how your mood is going to impact your desire in its physical form, all you need to do is separate it from the context you have given to it and experience whatever it is that you're desiring in its own right. So to go back to money, just to make sure that this is clear for you, you can do this when you are feeling excited or happy. Remember, this is a mental activity, which means that it won't impact anything physical that you're doing. What you can do to get the ball rolling is, when you're in a happy, relaxed and loving state of mind, or mood rather, start to feel or to become aware of the nature of money. I'm using money as an example. You can apply this to whatever it is that you're aware of. We know what money feels like. We all know what it feels like. But what you want to think about are its constituent emotions. So some of the constituent emotions of money are freedom, confidence, influence, personal power, and so on. And you can think of your own. And what you need to do is, when you are feeling happy, excited, loving, aroused, whatever it might be, those higher vibrational emotions, is start to evoke those emotions that are associated with money. As I said, freedom, personal power, confidence, influence, and so on. Just start to evoke those emotions without giving it any specific context. Allow the emotions to wash over you. And you want to try to discipline yourself to do this in a really loose, free-flowing way. If you find yourself starting to apply the emotion to something specific, you're suddenly thinking about a need you have or something you want to do, then your human aspect is becoming involved in the process and it's going to derail you. So what you want to do is just allow these emotions to wash over you. And what you are training yourself to do is to recognize specific emotions when you are in a particular mood. And when you're able to master this as a technique, what you're going to do is be able to ensure that you are going to give birth to your desire as it is intended, because you're going to be able to make sure that you're only experiencing your desire when you are in the right mood. Now, one thing I want to say about consent, I mention that a lot. Consent actually means an emotional experience. And you can consent to your desire becoming a reality when you are in a negative mood. And that is going to influence what your desire looks like in a physical form, in its physical form. So consent is not only given when you're happy, it's given when you're sad, when you're frustrated, when you're afraid, and so on. So what I'm trying to describe here is that if you learn to recognize your desires in their emotional state, you can consent to them or experience them emotionally when you are in a good frame of mind, when you are in a positive frame of mind, or in the mood of certainty, and ensure that those desires are physically realized as God intends them for you. So that's all there is to say about this. It really is straightforward. What I would suggest that you do is start to play with this. If you find yourself feeling pressure or feeling a sense of urgency relative to your desires, please remember that you will never be panicked enough to make things go right. it's better for you to master this technique. It doesn't take very long at all. You can actually get into the habit of evoking specific emotions when you're in the right mood throughout the course of the day. And if you do it many times a day, you will actually get on top of this as a method very, very quickly indeed. It won't take very long. And then as soon as you're able to control yourself in this way, to exercise your authority in this way, you're going to be able to physically realize your desires in a very, very short space of time. So that's all I'd like to say about that. Please do ask any questions underneath as usual. Post any comments, any insights. It's wonderful to share. And I look forward to being with you again in the next upload. Thank you for listening. And until we're together again, stay phenomenally you.